Okay, when I left you guys, we're talking about Stormy Monday in C minor, or the C9 chord. I really didn't want to talk about arpeggios or too much theory, but maybe it's time just to talk about a little bit. And let's go over the arpeggios that are in this song. And since it's a G, it's in the key of G, and this is kind of a jazzy blues, I think it's really appropriate more than ever really to start talking about some of these arpeggios, because in a jazzier style of music, people are going to be outlining the chords a little bit more. And so if you understand what the chords are, at least know what the chords are and know what notes to play over those chords, you're going to be a lot better off, and you're going to sound a lot more appropriate. And I'm all about playing what's appropriate rather than playing what doesn't sound good or what sounds cool. So let's start with the G7 chord. And the G7 arpeggio, the chord tones, it's going to be a D. I wrote them all out here, so I'll put them up on the site too. It's D, F, G, and B. And so you can practice that. You can play those same four notes wherever they are on the harmonica. Get really familiar with that. And you can play those notes anytime that chord is going on, and you're going to sound like you're in key. You want to keep most of the emphasis on when it says a G7 like that, you want to play the 7th degree of that scale, and that's going to be the F. Let me put the music on for a second, I'll show you. Okay, so you see how the next chord is a C9. And so the C9 arpeggio that's going to be C, D, E, and G. And so if you look at the two chords, the G7 and the C9, what notes do they have that are in common? Well, there's a couple. There's the D and there's the G. Both of those chords and those scales, those arpeggios, they have those notes that are in common. And so when you're going to change like we did there, if you notice I ended up on the D. And so for a C9, the 9 means emphasize that 9 degree, because they want that in there for that sound. So that's going to be the D, which is actually like the second note of the scale. So I'll play just using the notes of the G7 arpeggio, and then we're going to go back to C9, and then we're going to go to G7 again. Okay? Now, in the other video, this is where we went from G7 to A flat 7. We need to make that change. Pause this again. Okay, so now we have G7. It's D, F, G, B. Okay, we have the C9. Okay, C, D, E, and G. And it means any C, any G, any E, any D. So that's why you want to practice that all over your harmonica. It's kind of like, what was that, O Susanna? That's your C9 arpeggio. Just think the first part of O Susanna. That's it. Okay, it goes to G7. We talked about that. The next one is going to be the A flat 7, okay? And the chord tones that you want to play, it's going to be E flat, F sharp, A flat, and C. And so you can see how it's just a half step up from G. That's a good way to practice it, especially if you have your overblows down. It's back and forth, back and forth. So now let's try the first measure of this again. Now this is where it changes again. So let me pause that. So we played the arpeggios over the first part of this. We had a half step change. These are all pretty easy things to do. And if you can't, when it gets to A flat 7, if you can't hit your overblows, you certainly can do the draw bend 6. Here, let me try that again. It's going to go G7 to A flat 7. See how it works? You're playing jazz now if you're doing that. Okay, so the next one, it's going to be A minor 7. And that arpeggio is A, C, E, G. A, C, E, G. And if you can't hit those notes, because the intonation on some of these notes, I mean, even for me, the intonation it gets a little iffy, you don't have to play them. So that's your A minor. So listen how that works. Now it goes to the B minor. Okay, that's a little more tricky. But not really. It's just thinking about it. Here's your B minor 7 arpeggio. It's a B, D, F sharp, A. So you can see that they have these tones that are in common. The A minor 7 has the A and the A that are in common. So you can always lean on those. So when I practice this stuff, just like that. Make it funky. B minor 7 arpeggio. Next chord that's going to be in here is going to be the B flat minor 7 arpeggio. This is the difficult one. It wasn't the B minor that was so difficult. B flat minor 7. B flat, D flat, F, A flat. You hear the difference? Okay, so let's try this.